right, everyone, well, welcome back. And we are very luckily joined this morning by Razor Rob Wilkinson. So, Rob, firstly, thank you very much for joining us today. So, look, mate, I just want to get straight into it. So, heading into the fight with Omari Akhmedov, who's an experienced grappler, did you make any stylistic changes in your training to tailor your approach for this specific opponent who has such a grappling heavy approach? Or for you, is it just business as usual in regards to your preparation and your approach to training?
I'm always more focused on like my game plan, what I want to do, what I want to impose out there than my opponent. But definitely the last few fights, I've been trying to do a bit more study and like on my opponents. So yeah, we tailor it a little bit to each opponent, but yeah, focusing on what I'm going to do in the fight more so than what he's going to do.
Rob, I know most fighters don't look to look too far ahead of ahead of their fights, which is with good reason. I completely respect and understand that. But I do want to ask you, November 25th, you defeat Akhmedov, you win the million. Is there something in mind that you want to buy straight away? I mean, you could buy a hell of a lot of moustache balms and oils with $1 million.
I've got asked that question. I haven't got asked, about the moustache balms, but yeah, I want to. One of my goals was to be able to buy a house and kind of start setting myself up for later in life with my fighting. So whether it's an investment property or something I can kind of live in, I'll be looking at probably investing in property for sure.
What about what about having your own razor moustache balm? That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, we could. My manager's been talking, and obviously with the world title, we could start doing my own products.
Yeah, for sure.
That's it. So, look, Rob, since the UFC, you've gone on a 5-fight win streak, which are all finishes. Did that experience in the UFC, in a way, sort of light a fire under you to consistently raise the ceiling of your abilities as a martial artist and as a fighter?
I mean, getting released, obviously the experience was good, fighting some high level guys in the UFC and getting released from that was, heartbreaking for me. I just had to kind of take those lessons and learn and be ready and kind of keep improving and keep working. So, like leading into the UFC, I had 11-0, 10 finishes. So that's kind of my style. But I just realized I kind of, make some adjustments and make sure I'm ready for that world stage.
Robin, look, man, in 3 weeks you fight for $1 million in the PFL finale. You have been the guy fighting on the regional circuit for organisations like Hex, being a former champion there and Australian FC and that sort of stuff. The local scene here in Australia, I feel like, is on a turn and could be its best it's been in years. There's other promotions that have just started, like Beatdown Promotions run by Damien Brown. The XFC is, well as Eternal MMA, who's always putting on world-class shows. As someone who has made it to the big organisations now, how have you seen Australian MMA progress over the years, and what would you like to see improve moving forward?
Yeah, man, it's definitely improving, and you can kind of see that even with the amateur fights on the cards. They're so amateur guys are such high level fighters these at the moment compared to when I started. There wasn't really my first fight. They just started to kind of be amateur fights, and I went pro straight away. I kind of wasn't interested in fighting amateur. When now you kind of want to get those amateur fights in because everyone, once they go pro or even at the amateur level, the amateur champs they're good. They're high quality fighters. So it's awesome seeing the growth of MMA, and I think that's a big part to seeing the success of the UFC guys, the high level guys in Australia fighting. We've got Volk the champ. We got all the UFC guys from Australia are pretty much ranked in the top 15. They're all good level guys. Obviously, we've got some newer ones coming up, but they're all exciting, and I think that's kind of growing the sport, which is awesome, and that's what we need.
For sure. So, Rob, look, obviously next week we're heading into a pretty big middleweight title fight between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya, the latter of which is, a man that you've had the experience of sharing the cage with and obviously studying to some degree. Have you thought about that fight at all? And if so, how do you see it playing out in your head?
It's an awesome card. It's an exciting fight. I think Israel gets it done. I know everyone kind of keeps talking about the previous two kickboxing fights that Alex won in, but as he said, and if you've watched those fights, arguably he won the first fight. Second fight he got caught, but that was also 6 years ago or something. So everyone's a completely different fighter by then. And I think Israel's just experienced in UFC in MMA. He's had over 20 MMA fights, where Alex has had like 4 or 5. I think that's going to be a big part of it, and I think he's just going to be too elusive and be able to kind of pick his shots and not get hit. Yeah,
100%. Rob, I have a bit of a thing for fighters' nicknames, and I always enjoy learning the background and sort of where they come from and originate. So, got to ask you, where did Razor come from?
It is. It's funny how you just get stuck with the nickname, from the start of your career, and that's just like my name now. But it was before my first MMA fight, my very first fight. Leading into that fight, I ended up, I think, cutting 3 of my training partners, and then one of them kind of just started calling me Razor Rob. And I didn't really think about it, and then the announcer asked me at the fight, like, "What's your fight name?" And Connor was in the corner, and he just said Razor Rob, and that stuck. So
I thought it might be because of the shave and everything else but the moustache. But
no, that came later.
That came later. So, Rob, look, throughout your career, you've been, a consistent finisher, both on the ground and on the feet in your career. Is looking for the finish something that you intentionally go for in the cage? Or do you just find that the finishes sort of present themselves because of your fighting style?
I don't ever rush for a finish. Like, I'm never thinking I'm going to knock the guy out straight away or submit them straight away. But I think I've got a good eye, and I can hit hard. I hurt people, and when I see them breaking or see that they're hurt, I'm good at finishing. I'm good at going in for the kill.
Well, look, man, last one from us. We don't want to keep you too long because I know you've got training, got things on your mind, so we don't want to keep you too long. But last one from us, man, is obviously speaking on the PFL itself. I for one, am very happy to see the PFL succeeding. I think they're doing an exceptional job with promotion as well. I think they're doing, in terms of promotion, I think they're up there with the UFC. They're doing a wonderful job with that. What has been the biggest difference you've noticed as a fighter fighting for an organisation like the PFL, say compared to the UFC or other ones you've fought?
Yeah, it's awesome seeing the PFL do well, and I think it's just it's cool that they're doing a different style than everyone else. Like, they're doing the season. You're in a tournament. You kind of guaranteed those first 2 fights. They've got a point system, so it doesn't matter if you can lose one of those 2 fights and get a first round finish, and there's a good chance you'll still go through to the finals. And then it's like that tournament, like, you win, you progress, kind of thing. It's the best 2 fighters at the end of the day in the tournament fighting each other for that world title and that $1 million, which is exciting. It's none of the kind of like the bullshit that happens in the UFC where it's like whoever's got a bigger name or whoever's talking lots of shit. It's just who's the best fighter, and I love that about the PFL.
Rob, look, mate, you're doing Australia proud, and Alex and I are big fans. We look forward to seeing you compete, mate, November 25th at Madison Square Garden. We can't wait to see you get it done, get the milli, and then look forward to buying some of your moustache balm, which I will definitely use if you make it.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thanks very much,
Rob.
man.
Thanks, mate.